Hey folks, happy Thursday to you. We continue our pastor's devotional Bible study Thursday, March 11th. And the question, petition, thought of the day from the prayer ministry is this: when I am anxious, remind me that you are in control. Oh God, when I am anxious, remind me that you are in control. Hasn't this been a season, a year now, of anxiety? It was a year ago last Sunday that we had our last worship service in person in 2020. So this coming Sunday will be one year that we've been doing online services, and of course we've seen millions of people sickened, over 500,000 people in the U.S. alone that have died because of COVID. People are having to move and lose their jobs, and school kids not in school. I mean, there's been ample reasons to be anxious this year. And my guess is lots of folks during the year that ask the question like, God, seriously? Like, can't you come down here and take control in some way? Can't you, right, step in? But if you listen to my sermon last week in worship, I was talking, it's sort of an issue on the periphery of this, but one of the things I said is that God just simply does not act in that way. Like, God doesn't step into our lives or step into the world and to intervene in that way. I mean, if God did that, if that's the way that God operates, then why in the world, God, have you not come yet amidst this pandemic? Why do we know good, faithful people who die of cancer? Well, how does it happen that good servants of God get in some sort of tragic accident or circumstance, right? I mean, it's just simply not true that God intervenes on our behalf and changes circumstances. Instead, God gave freedom to creation. And what that means is that disease grows sometimes, and depending on where we live and how we congregate and how we treat one another, I mean, there's a million factors, and natural disasters happen, and also people are given the freedom to make decisions that might lead to tragedy or that might lead them to do something that affects the innocents' lives. And so free will plays a huge part in this. So then the question becomes, okay, then how is it that God is in control? If it's not come down and save me from this circumstance, then when I say God's in control, what does that mean? Well, one of my favorite verses over the last couple of years has been Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28. So turn over into Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28. Gospel of Matthew is the first book in the New Testament. Right in the middle of your Bible is probably the Psalms, and go 300 pages farther and you're going to find the Gospel of Matthew. So Gospel of Matthew 11:28. Come to me, this is Jesus speaking, come to me all that are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, most often, right, it's talking about a yoke, the yoke upon the neck of a working oxen. Most often, I think, I don't know about your mind, but when I first read this, what I had in mind, what it was saying is that I'm carrying something really heavy. I'm the ox that's carrying something really heavy, and what I need to do is what Jesus is inviting me to do is to take it off and to place it upon him. So I have this heavy burden, and now what I'm going to do is to take this burden off, and he's willing to carry this burden for me. That's oftentimes how we talk about it. In fact, I've heard sermons preached on this passage that say exactly that. But look at the text again. That's not what it says at all, does it? it says, I know that you are weary and carrying heavy burdens. So we're carrying those heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. So I'm carrying this heavy, heavy yoke, this burden. And rather than me taking off and giving it to Jesus, what Jesus is saying is, on top of your heaviness already, take mine and put it on. So now we not only have ours that we are carrying, now we have Jesus' yoke as well. What does that mean? Well, Jesus carries a yoke of trust, a yoke of hope and love and joy. He carries a yoke of infinite belief in the power of God. He carries a yoke in which he understands and feels the very nature of God working through him and flowing through him and enabling him to do certain things here on earth. He carries a yoke of grace. He carries a yoke of forgiveness. And so the question is, in our anxious moments, are any of those, the lack of any of those things that I've just named of Jesus' yoke, is that the root cause of our anxiousness? Is the root cause of my anxiety during this COVID time not enough belief that God will protect me? Not enough belief, not enough trust that God will provide for me and my family, right? So what happens if I put on this yoke of belief and this yoke of trust? I was lacking those things, and that led to an anxiety. But now if I don't lack those things, does my anxiety come down? And I realize that God is in control through my newfound belief and my newfound trust. You see how that works? So it's not getting rid of everything. It's taking in the right things, which then bring life into proper perspective. We're not going to get rid of the disease in our world. We're not going to get rid of tragic moments. We're not going to get rid of the free will decisions that other people make that negatively impact our lives. Those things, unfortunately, are going to be with us and stay with us. But how can we add to our lives newfound understanding of God that helps us to hold all of that in a better perspective, which in turn dials down, lowers the anxiety that I might feel in life. That's what Jesus invites us to. I pray that with your anxiety this day, that you might discover what it means to carry the yoke of Christ upon your shoulders. God bless. Have a great day.